This presentation is about how propaganda affected World War II along with how it helped the war effort.
Propaganda is the art of persuasion or getting others to believe your side of the story, and is always biased. The word propaganda originated from the Latin language. At first it meant ideas to be spread around, but in the First World War it came to mean political ideas that are supposed to be misleading. It might, for example, take the form of persuading others that a country's military is too strong for others to challenge, or that somebody has too much political power within a nation. Posters were widely used for propaganda during World War II. Radio was likely the most widely used form of propaganda. Shows could be broadcasted all across the world, which helped broaden its reach. Propaganda posters like this one, saying, "To keep your trap shut," helped stop information that could potentially help the enemy. Throughout the war, propaganda was mainly used through posters. However, some countries used films and newspapers that portrayed untrue facts about other nations or people. No matter the propaganda, it had a main theme of supporting the war efforts and an underlying theme of buying war bonds, anti-German or anti-Japanese.
Winston Churchill was the British Prime Minister during World War II. He made many inspiring speeches to rally the people of his country and encourage them to join the war effort. Britain didn't produce any propaganda until after the war's outbreak. When the Second World War started, the government decided not to take over the media or suppress editorial freedom, but rather to allow for the people of Britain to debate and interpret for themselves. However, it would control the flow of information to the media. The government also realized the importance of issuing national propaganda to maintain morale at home and influence opinion abroad. They began spreading information through films, radio broadcasts, exhibitions at museums, and an enormous amount of posters.
Hideki Tojo was an army master in Japan and was a strong supporter of the Tripartite Act. Japan used films and spread their propaganda around. Chocolate and soldiers and the story of Tank Commander Nishizumi was very popular. Japanese wartime films were effective as propaganda tools used for Japan audiences. Anthropologist Ruth Benedict once exclaimed, "Japanese films had a propaganda courage with American films have usually lacked. Japanese movies were not afraid to show weakness and hardship in their associated with war. Japanese films showed a lot of sacrifice more than the American films, in order to create a more humoristic and endurance empathy for the characters."
Joseph Stalin was the director of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics from 1929 to 1953. Dmitry Shepilov was the head of propaganda in Russia in World War II. Russia sided with the United States and Britain and helped the war effort. Russia mainly used posters of their use of propaganda.
Germany had already begun work on producing propaganda even before the war began. There was transportable films, machines, and entertainment. German soldiers on the front line as well to get propaganda to them. However, Germany's propaganda was different because they used mythology instead of illustrations. Adolf Hitler, leader of the Nazi Party, was aware of the value for good propaganda.
The SS and the Gestapo hunted those who produced articles that were bad for the Nazis' image. Albert Speer was a chief architect for Hitler. Speer had helped Goebbels with public displays of propaganda. Goebbels and Speer organized rallies that were designed to show the world the strength of the Nazi nation.
In order for everyone to think in the correct manner, Goebbels set up the Reich Chamber of Commerce in 1933. People had to be a member of the Reich Chamber to produce literature, art, music, radio, films, and newspapers. The Nazi Party were the ones who decide if someone had the right credentials to be a member. They set rules, and if someone did not abide by them, then they would be punished later. Nazi Germany introduced a system of censorship. This system ensured that people could only read, see, and hear what the Nazis wanted you to hear. A man by the name of Reichenschall, known for propaganda, made a film named Triumph of Will, which was considered one of the greatest propaganda films despite its contents.
The U.S. displayed propaganda in every available way except for television. The media types used were radio, posters, leaflets, comic books, movies, magazines, and newspapers. Their posters mainly had a positive message and were designed by artists who were not compensated for their work, which differed from other countries. The United States government was not in favor of propaganda at first. Propaganda was used to recruit soldiers for both the Army and the Navy. Posters were produced asking Americans to try and conserve products such as fats, butter, coffee, and rubber. Conservation was the largest theme among posters produced during the war. The United States was successful in recycling goods. Propaganda posters have made a huge impact on many different people in different ways, and there are so many ways that they can be portrayed. This way of persuasion has convinced many people to do what the posters are saying. This now concludes the presentation of how propaganda in World War II affected and helped the war effort through many countries.